Welcome, listeners, to Time for an Awakening on Black Talk Radio Network, new media for the new millennia. This is a history and current events program from a cultural perspective. We find this program necessary because Hosea 4:6 states, "My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge." But we as a people can turn this around. Proverbs 4:7 states, "Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get an understanding." Again, welcome to the program this evening with your hosts, Brother Elliot and Brother Richard. The number to reach us to join the conversation this evening is 215-490-9832. That's 215-490-9832. We're streaming live at several locations. You can go to timeforanawakening.com. That's timeforawakening.com, which is the website, and listen to the program streaming live there. You can go to www.blacktalkradionetwork.com/Time for an Awakening. Again, that's www.blacktalkradionetwork.com/Time for an Awakening, and listen to the live stream there. You can download the TuneIn app, and on any of your devices. TuneIn is a free app. You can download it to your desktop, your iPad, your iPhone, any of your devices. And in that TuneIn search engine, just type in Time for an Awakening, and you'll see the icon to listen to the program streaming live, even into your car. It's Time for Awakening with the live stream on the TuneIn app. Drop us an email at timeforanawakening@gmail.com. That's timeforanawakening@gmail.com. Time for Awakening also has a fan page on Facebook. In that Facebook search engine, just type in Time for an Awakening. There you'll see interesting articles posted daily. And before you leave that page, just hit that like button. That's Time for an Awakening radio program with the fan page on Facebook, and Time for Awakening Media has been launched. In your search engine, make that one of your favorites. Put it in the address bar. Just type in timeforanawakening.com. That's timeforanawakening.com. Will take you straight to Time for an Awakening Media. There you'll see more interesting content, blogs, articles, podcasts of the programs that you can download, listen at later times, or even share it with your friends. So again, put that in your address bar and make that one of your favorites. That's timeforanawakening.com. Timeforawakening.com will take you straight to Time for an Awakening Media. Tonight, special guest is joining us, and he's been with us before to give us updates on a lot of current events going on in the Ferguson, St. Louis area, and he's back with us tonight. President General of the Universal African Peoples Organization and the editor of African Newsworld, Brother Zaki Baruti, is with us this evening. We're going to be talking about Ferguson and other things centered around that, politics, economics, education. We're going to do it all with Brother Zaki Baruti. And we'll be right back to get things started after a brief word from our sponsors.
Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies. Everybody is here.
You are tuned in to the Black Talk Radio Network. For podcasts and live program scheduling, visit us on the web at blacktalkradionetwork.com.
All Insurance Incorporated, an African-American owned and operated insurance agency in business for over 20 years, located at 231 Southeastern Road in Glenside, PA, with other offices in Germantown and West Philadelphia. Call now for commercial insurance quotes, homeowners insurance quotes, automobile insurance quotes, notary and tax services, representing over 15 major A-rated insurance companies, offering a discount on all notary services when you call in for a free quote. Call this number, 215 215-885-2444. That number is 215-885-2444. 215-885-2444. All Insurance Incorporated.
Before your roof becomes unruly, call Dooley. Dooley Brothers, specializing in shingle, rubber roofs, gutters, downspouts, and vinyl sidings. Call for your free estimate today. 215-224-3882. That's 215-224-3882. Dooley Brothers Roofing, the roofing experts you can trust. That number again, 215-224-3882. 215-224-3882. Before your roof becomes unruly, call Dooley.
History is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. It is also a compass that people use to find themselves on the map of human geography. History tells of people where they have been and what they have been, where they are and what they are. Most important, history tells a people where they still must go, what they still must be. The relationship of history to the people is the same as the relationship of a mother to her child.
From antiquity to the present, our people need to develop a new paradigm. It's time for an awakening with your host, Brother Elliot. Sundays, 7 p.m., Fridays at 8 p.m. For podcasting or live program scheduling, hit us up at timeforanawakening@gmail.com. Welcome back to Time for an Awakening. And before we welcome in our special guests and get started with the conversation, I want to welcome in Philadelphia activist and tour guide to the African American History Museum here in Philadelphia. My co-host, Brother Richard, is with us on the line. Hey. Brother Richard.
Yes, sir. How you doing there? Looks like we're going to have another powerhouse in the sense of really getting down to the nuts and bolts of political power from this, if nobody minds me saying, a African development perspective.
You know, Richard, this is a continuation of things that we've been doing since we've been doing Time for Awakening. Whether it's been 1 million conscious and conscientious black voters and contributors, whether it was our guest a couple of weeks ago, Omali Yeshiteli with Black is Back Coalition, and Brother Zaki Baruti has been with us before with the Universal African Peoples Organization. This is just a continuation of solutions for our people to get involved, to change this dynamic, not to keep doing what we've been doing, voting Democrat, voting Republican, a small percentage of us, and getting no results. These are ways that we can change our paradigm, as we say in the promo, solutions. That's what this program is about, solutions for our people. Tonight, our guest is no exception. He's been working with the organization that he started. And in fact, they just had an anniversary. Welcome back to the program, Brother Zaki Baruti. Brother Baruti, how are you?
I'm great, and I'd like to extend greetings of peace to you and your listening audience, as well as Brother Richard. I'm honored to have been invited to be on your program, The Awakening, and just encourage you to continue educating our people, because the people without knowledge, cannot really advance, and the people without vision shall perish. So I salute your efforts.
Brother Baruti, before we get started and talking about things that has been going on in Ferguson, a big election earlier this month, and things centering around that. We'll talk about that. But before we get to that subject, let's talk about the Universal African Peoples Organization. You just had an anniversary not too long ago, and it's, 28 years?
From 19, I'm having one of those moments right now. But we were founded on April 4th, 1989.
Okay.
And we were founded as an extension of my candidacy for governor of the state of Missouri in 1984 as well as in 1988. And my comrades who were very involved in my candidacy at that time, we felt that we had to continue that momentum that we had built up through my candidacy. And so we decided to create the organization, Universal African Peoples Organization. But that was after a dutiful study because we didn't really want to reinvent the wheel in terms of there have been many progressive organizations that have we've been blessed to have as a people, including the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Mm-hmm. And to that end, we created an organization in the spirit of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and giving our homage to the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. And to that end, we chose April the 4th because that was the assassination date of Dr. King, and we always like to put many of our activities within a historic context, as well as so we every year commemorate the founding of the organization, which was our 28th year of founding. And we also celebrate the legacy of the Honorable Marcus Garvey every August 17th on or near that date, which is the birthday of him, as well as we celebrate the legacy of Honorable El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, known popularly as Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. And as an organization, we've been on the forefront of a lot of different battles over the years, including many police violence incidents here in the St. Louis area. In fact, one of the hats I wore for many years was co-chair of an organization that was called the Coalition Against Police Crimes and Repression. So, also pushing for community control of the police department. So we've done a lot of work around, police violence and harassment, as well as we have had an international component. I'm proud to say that our organization has done about 5 major international relief efforts. In fact, when we were founded, just to celebrate the independence of Namibia in 1989, we shipped over about 70 boxes of new clothing for the people. And then in the year 2003, we coordinated an effort coming out of St. Louis, including some other progressive organizations, but we were the main coordinators, where we shipped 450 boxes of clothing and medical supplies to Zimbabwe, which went there to dedicate to the government there, led by the Honorable Robert Mugabe. In 2004, after the devastating Hurricane Ivan had tore up Haiti, we shipped about 540 boxes of clothing, food, water, medical supplies to Haiti. In 2006, we shipped 9,000 books to Ethiopia in terms of helping to fight illiteracy there and working with a non-governmental agency there. And then in 2015, we shipped 12,000 books to Ghana to help in the building of a library there. So, as well as our organization has been part under the when the Mataba was thriving out of Libya under the leadership of Colonel Gaddafi. We were part of the worldwide African anti-Zionist movement. And I've been blessed to meet people like Gaddafi, as well as Robert Mugabe, President of Zimbabwe, as well as the President of the Sudan, Omar Bashir, along with the President of Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega, and the President of a small island called Antigua, Brother Rosie Douglas. So, we've been on, as well as we've been on a mission of political empowerment for our people. In fact, if I could digress for a minute, mm-hmm. I ran for the position of governor not one morning say, hey, I want to be governor, but after a study of the political impotence of our people, when in 1984 there were no black governors out of 50. This is very powerful political institutions of America. And then in one branch of the legislative branch where you have Congress, the House of Representatives, and the House of Senate, in the House of Representatives, they had 100 members and not one was black in 1984. So effectively, in 150 of the most powerful positions in this country, that we had zero representation. So my comrades and I, and at that time I was head of a political group called Caucus for Community Progress. We put together what we call Missouri's first statewide Black People's Political Convention. And we had 3 objectives that we had published and put out publicly. One objective for the convention was to educate whoever was in attendance to state politics. A second was to draw up a platform of concerns impacting blacks in the state of Missouri. And the last objective was to encourage blacks to run statewide in Missouri. Every 4 years in the state of Missouri, we have 5 statewide elected positions, and that includes a governorship, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, state treasurer, and state auditor. As an organization, we wanted to challenge for each of those positions and have an all-black slate. The first 2 objectives at the convention, we had a couple hundred people in attendance, including a lot of powerful political leaders from the state senators and state representatives and city councilmen here in St. Louis and throughout the state of Missouri, especially out of Kansas City. And everybody was rah, rah, rah. It was a great idea, but we also tried to get what we considered the already prominent elected officials to run for those positions. And we kind of naively thought that whoever we got who would run for governor would have been the first black candidate for governor. And so, we thought, it would be a rush for folks doing that, although we later found out there was another brother in 1968, who had actually ran for governor. But in our effort to get someone to run, we couldn't get nobody to run. And I've always been a person that tried to practice what I preach, in that we couldn't get no one to run, so I decided, especially encouraged by a lot of the supporters of the convention, ended up running for governor. I was one of 7 candidates. I was the only black candidate, but I carried the message of black liberation in essence during my candidacy. And of the 7, I came in 4th the first time. It was only a 4-month campaign. But more importantly than that, and I ran within the Democratic Party because one of the restrictions of political outside parties of running independent is that you have to have these overwhelming number of petitions to get on the ballot. Mm-hmm. And normally, you always have to double the number of petitions that is required. And in the state of Missouri at that time, it was about 25,000. And we just didn't have the map, and we would have needed really 50,000. So we decided to go within the Democratic Party, not owing any particular allegiance to the Democratic Party. But as a result of the election, I could probably say that we were able to pressure, because after the primary election, it was a general election, which was real tight, and that the Democratic eventual winner asked for my endorsement and support. But to get that, he had to publicly endorse, and we have it on record in newspapers and what have you, endorse what we call the Black Agenda, which I have to give to his credit, he did. But he lost the general election to John Ashcroft, who later on became Attorney General. Mm-hmm. And then I ran a second time in 1988 because I felt that we could have done even pulled in more votes and educated more people. And the first time I ran, even though we had a lot of the black elected officials who was at our conference saying right on, many of them went with the white candidates, and they did likewise when I ran a second time, but I shocked a lot of the political pundits through my grassroots candidacy by polling over 19% of the vote in a state of which was only 10% black. And again, without, a lot of the black elected officials' support. And after my election, it motivated other blacks to begin to run statewide, although we have not had nobody elected statewide. We've had several candidates who have been nominated and won the primary election statewide, including a brother who had ran for a United States Senator back in 1994, and just this past election cycle last year, a sister that we endorsed ran and won the Democratic nomination for Secretary of State, which pushed me, if I may continue, fast forward to today, or shall I say in 2015, that our organization, under the banner of the concept of proportionate political representation, which we have been pushing for a number of years, which simply means that whatever is a concept that simply means that whatever percentage we are as a people on the national level, state level, or local levels of government, then we should have that percentage of political power or political representation. But in 2015, I must say even today, it is projected that black people are 13%, according to the United States Census, of 13%. But if you look, and I and again, I encourage people to do diligent study, it is estimated that there's 500,000 publicly elected positions in this country, 500,000, exactly about 511,000. Of that number, only 12,000 to 13,000 are black elected officials, which translates to 2%. Under the concept of proportionate political representation, that number should be 13%. So if we had 13% of the elected officials, then the raw numbers would be at least at 66,000 plus. Now, what would that do? As you know, most political positions, number one, they pay a salary. And if they don't pay a salary, they influence the expenditures of tax dollars for various services.
Yes.
So if we had conscious people elected to different positions, then, like I say, it would first of all help feed some of our families politically, as well as in awarding of various contracts on the city levels and state levels and what have you. Then some of those contracts could possibly go to black-owned businesses that further helps the economics of our community, as well as you know, political officials help shape social policies impacting everyday people. What we always point out under the push for proportionate political representation, we say that as a people, we are taxpayers. Then we should have our share of the representation coming from our tax dollars. But that's not the case. We actually feeding other families by not seizing what we call power. So to that end, we and this coming on the here, we held our first national black political leadership conference that was held on October the 30th and the 31st in St. Louis / Ferguson to address those issues, to push forward the concept that black people are to run again, starting at and involving statewide positions. So in the year 2016, there were 33 United States Senate seats up for election and 11 governorships. It was my idea, although maybe naive, because it was, it sometimes gets difficult to get our people to see the importance of challenging for those powerful positions. But anyway, out of that conference, we did have a slate of candidates where we made history in the state of Missouri that ran statewide on the issues coming from the conference, and that included a sister who was running for a United States Senator, a sister named Cori Bush. We had a brother out of Kansas City, and she was from St. Louis. And these are, again, in Missouri. Our brother ran for governor of the state of Missouri out of Kansas City named Eric Morrison. Then we had another brother who we held our conference at his church, and he opened up his church many times to the Ferguson movement. A brother named Reverend Tommy Pearson ran for lieutenant governor, and this sister named Robin Smith, who was popular as a TV broadcaster, ran for Secretary of State. I thought we had not encouraged her to run; she just did it, but we ended up supporting her. And she, as I had made mention earlier, won the primary. We also had another sister in the state of Kansas run for a United States Senator, and she shocked a lot of political pundits because she, as the first timer in the Democratic primary, received over 37% of the vote in the state that was only 6% black. So we also held our second National Black Political Conference on June 3rd and the 4th in 2016, where we unveiled our candidates. And then moving forward to today, we'll be hosting a third National Black Political Leadership Conference, and we invite you and your listening audience to attend in St. Louis. That will be held in St. Louis, Missouri.
That's in May, isn't it?
May 19th, which is the birthday of Malcolm El-Haj Malik Shabazz, and we're doing it in his spirit. And it's going to be a 2-day event, and we're really excited about it. And there's a registration fee, a pre-registration fee of $25. At the door, it's $35. And so, we'll keep, we say as an organization, the concept, and that's what we're trying to get everybody to understand, the concept of proportionate political representation is probably the most progressive and powerful political thought for our community in the 21st century. And one last thing, when I'm speaking of that, to try to really break it down where people understand the necessity for it. Our organization was very involved in the Ferguson uprising. And I was at the head of a number of the demonstrations and what have you, as part of what was called the Leadership Coalition for Justice for Michael Brown. But out on the picket line, I gathered the information about the politics of Ferguson. In fact,
you know what, Brother Baruti, because I want to ask you a question, and that's the first question I want to ask about what happened there. But let me kind of reintroduce you to our audience that's tuning in just a little bit late. We're in conversation this evening with activist and President General of the Universal African Peoples Organization and the editor of the African Newsworld. Brother Zaki Baruti is with us, calling from St. Louis, Missouri. Brother Baruti, Ferguson, Missouri is 67, according to reports, is 67% black and 29% white. Ella Jones lost to the white mayor that was in power during the time when Michael Brown was murdered by Darren Wilson. What happened during that period? Because I know that you, your organization, you personally and others were on the ground trying to rally people to, like you said, to run for the office. I don't know whether Ella Jones was one of your endorsed candidates, or I know that you know her because you're active in that area. But give our listening audience a background of what happened there.
Okay, and that's why I was just getting ready to lay out, kind of like on a historic perspective.
Go ahead.
First of all, let me flip back. On a personal side, I lived in that same complex where Mike Brown had been murdered in the Canfield Green apartments. But at the time I lived there, which was in 1975, it was called the Village Apartment. Also, I had organized a housing tenant association because we were having problems with garbage collection. We were having we had boulders in the streets inside of the complex. We had roach infestation. And I just took it upon myself to organize, and I can say probably not bragging, was able to get, as well as ask a city, because Ferguson, when I was living there, was predominantly white. And I was able to get a sister to run for city council in Ferguson, which she would have been the first black on the council if elected, but she was not. But anyway, we were able to effectively get a new garbage collection, the streets repaved, and they came in and got rid of the roaches more or less. But when my lease came up for renewal, they wouldn't renew me, so I had to move out. So that was in 75. So when Mike Brown was killed and out on the first day, out there in Ferguson, and I was inquiring about just what you made mention, what was the composition of the city, black and white, found out it was 67% black, and then found out at the time of the murder of Mike Brown that the city council, which composed of 6 people, only 1 was black. I'm talking about in 2014. And as a direct consequence of that political imbalance toward black people, you had a police force of Ferguson at the time of Mike Brown's death that was 53 officers and only 3 were black. That was a direct consequence of the lack of political representation and power as a people within the city council offices that led to that kind of unbalance. So, so that, I just wanted to make that point in terms of going back to this whole concept that, number one, we are taxpayers, and in that city of Ferguson, you had the 67% majority black actually paying the salaries of white racist officers who was hassling, the residents, which was brought out through, Ferguson Report and what have you. So after that, then after finding that out and, along with all the demonstrations, we did encourage some people to run. We had a brother that we had chose to run named Lee Smith ran for city council. And there was another young brother named Wesley Bell. He ran for the same position, but Wesley won. And we had invited the sister named Ella Hawkins, who had ran for alderman, and she was kind of like in a predominantly white ward, but she did not want the activist support at that point in time. She felt that, I'm just laying out what was and is, okay?
Okay.
And so, but she was elected, and so for the first time in Ferguson history, you had 3 elected officials on Ferguson City Council, and 3 white, but you also had the white mayor who could officially break any ties, in terms of voting. So fast forward to this year, she decided, Ella Hawkins, to run for mayor. But I hate to say, and I'm not trying to crack on her, but she was not really connected real deep with the black community, especially the activist community in Ferguson.
Okay.
And then I guess she didn't get out to such extent to motivate our people, which is a problem in of itself, to get out and vote. Our people many times have taken the attitude, voting ain't going to help or what have you, and did not exercise that particular, right. And so to that end, you had the disaster that did occur where the Ferguson mayor was reelected. But let me say this too, which was a defeat. We had 2 defeats since we're talking about politics, but we also have had some victories too on the progressive side. We had a second defeat just to give you the whole scenario of what's been taking place here in St. Louis, when we also lost the battle to seize the power at St. Louis City Hall, because we had that position up for election. And the powers to be, though, were able to get a number of blacks in the race simultaneously, because the racist white mayor, who we have been fighting for many years, for over 16 years, a racist named Francis Slay, he had decided he was going to retire, and he chose this white, I'm going to just say another racist, as his candidate to be supported. And but at the same time, we had about 5 black candidates running, and she was the only white major candidate that was running. And you know what happened? She went up the middle, had only about 30% of the vote total, but won the primary election, and eventually went on to be the mayor. So that was 2 major losses. But we also, on the flip side, for the very first time in our organization, supported a sister who was running for what we called St. Louis County Council seat, and she was elected, making her the second black woman out of a 6-person county board to sit on that, as well as we had supported a sister for the first time ever winning the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office, which is similar to a prosecuting attorney, when for many years it's always been held by, different white races, and she's fairly progressive. We also won the position of sheriff in St. Louis, which was in the hands of white folks. But immediately after the victory of the sheriff, the powers to be have made a move to change the rules. Instead of the sheriff being elected, they're trying to change that where it be appointed. Another victory was one of the Ferguson activists, a brother named Bruce Franks, was elected to the state legislature, as well as another young activist, Raheem Ardris, was elected to a committed person. And we just had the victory of one of the Ferguson activists named Johnny Muhammad as 21st Ward Alderman in the city of St. Louis. So our fight, for political powers is a continuous struggle, but we are not weary, and we are continuing that battle to seize power as one form of struggle to be taken by our people.
Brother Richard.
Yes, Brother Baruti, a couple of questions came to mind, but on that last point that you made, where is the struggle most? Is it with us as African people that live within these communities, or is it with the power structure and their control of the people that live in these communities?
I would almost have to say it's a simultaneous struggle. It's simultaneous from this perspective. And it probably happens in your community. It's all across America.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not a federal election where the president is involved, like normally black turnout is 40-50%. But when you have municipal elections, local elections, it drop off double that, to the levels of 19-20%. We had a chance 4 years ago to unseat this white racist mayor with another black who was already an elected black citywide official. But it kind of snowed a little bit that day, and only 19% of our people came out. The brother who we were supporting had a budget of about $700,000. The white mayor had $3.some million. In fact, about 2 days before the election, they sent out a mass email that we were able to intercept and find, to basically white voters, saying that if our candidate, a brother named Louis Reed, won, then people like the first black mayor of St. Louis, a brother named Freeman Bosley Jr., myself, and a couple others would be running the city, trying to scare the voters. But still, going back to the issue, part of the real problem is our own. So we have to create a mechanism that educate our people as to why they should get out and vote, and try to show, just as I had explained, the correlation of lack of power with who runs your police department and handles various services that impact your community. So it's Malcolm used to say that we have to have almost like a door-to-door campaign, not 24/7 for real. And so that's where we have to get at. Now, in terms of the power structure, they also beat us down psychologically because many of the same people don't have the kind of economic resources that causes the kinds of frustration in our community. They have systematically broken up our homes with a pipeline from school to jails. So as well as they have shot into our community the drugs, they have shot into our community the massive amount of alcohol. They have shot into our community the foolish lyrics of the gangster rap that we got to, as a progressive, also address. And so here we have a group of people, which gets me way off the subject, but as never in my life would I have imagined. In the early 60s, I worked with the Panther Party and a number of other organizations where I have seen black men with their pants hanging down like they do, because all of that is part of the psychological warfare that's being waged on us. So, and then the people have a sense of hopelessness. And so those are the kinds of issues that we just got to grapple with. And then you have an educational system that doesn't teach the students in terms of the whole concept of seizing power, political power, and the importance of it. So we got a combination of ills perpetrated by the system that also, help keep us in a condition. And I always have said historically we have two problems as a race. One is internal, from our own internal disunity and other issues, as well as external, and that's the white institutional racism that we face day in and day out.
And we commend you for your personal strength to be able to stay focused and be able to stay active. And I really appreciate the conceptual framework, as far as it's not just conceptual, but the power framework of this proportional political representation, because it's definitely dealing with the nuts and bolts of power or in the electoral process. But let me ask you this. How has the Pan-African, as a long-time activist in the community and this process, how has the Pan-African community developed? And the reason why I'm asking this is because as a member of the UNIA, we just had a discussion about, just at the mass meeting, about the need for the Pan-African community to be more, when you talk about internal, organized. And I'm wondering, when we're talking about using the electoral politics tool, have you seen over this time that whatever that proportional number is, that it has those individuals, those members, those organizations have been able to assist in developing this political thrust towards power representation?
I began, as I mentioned, about the youth out of Ferguson running. So we have had some influence on that level. In terms of the Pan-Africanism, that's slowly but surely kind of like developing. And I guess we're one of the lead organizations that's pushing it, because not too many other organizations really in this area speak in terms of Pan-Africanism, although I must say, and as I have made mention, every year we celebrate the life of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, but I see a couple other young organizations have also began to do that too. Along with when we were celebrating Malcolm, they have began to do that too. So, there are seeds of some young folks wanting to carry forth the legacy of, Pan-Africanism. And in fact, it's ironic you make mention that, because in the next edition of our newspaper, on the front cover, we were going to be having the subject matter to this effect that the Universal African Peoples Organization moving forward our vision. And we have a threefold vision. One vision is proportionate political representation. The other vision is the building of an army of 144,000 like-minded people. And the third is global Pan-Africanism. And I got to make sure that I get copies of that newspaper to you when it does come out.
Okay, great.
So, my hope, and it takes strength to stay out here. Let me say this. I'm 69.
I know it. I know it.
And, sometimes you be saying, I'm going to say, Lord, have mercy.
You want to throw up your hands.
I'm not ever going to see the kind of change that I thought I would have seen as a young activist in the Panther movement and what have you, saying all power to the people, and now I'm without hair almost, and it's gray, and you be saying, but you know what, I have hope. And I have hope on a historical level, using as an example, and I always say that in many of my remarks publicly, that my hope is built on the fact that you had the Iranian Revolution, where Brother Ayatollah Khomeini, who had been struggling all his life, he didn't come to power until he was, a real elderly man. So Nelson Mandela, he was of age before he came to become president. Not saying that was a landmark change in South Africa, but I'm just saying you can have historic change if you just stay on point. And I'm just praying that before my last breath, I can have a sense that our people and where I would like to see them be, and that's really free and having justice. But that's my hope. That's my prayer.
We will see that regardless, or it will happen, as Garvey said, about that whole thing about the whirlwind. And Elliot, if you don't mind me asking another question, as you had Brother Baruti, you raised.
Well, hold that a second, Richard. Let me look like a caller. 719 area code. What's your name? Where you calling from? 719.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, I wasn't trying to get in. I just wanted to listen there, Elliot.
Okay, I'll put you back on hold.
Okay.
You go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I was wondering, Brother Baruti, you had mentioned about progressiveness, and the question that came to my mind: how should we define or look at progressiveness in this era? When we're talking about running candidates, and everybody will pick up these labels at times, but we should be clear of what a person, especially so we won't reinvent the mistakes of the past, that we're clear what progressive. So for me and the audience, how do you see us defining that in this time?
That's a great question. That's a real great question. I guess for me, progressive would be how a person, their position, say for instance, on the issue of police, community control. For us, we say community control. Some people say black community control, but for us, community control would be that every police force in each community should reflect, first of all, the ethnicity of the community in which the police force exists. So say, for instance, Ferguson. Their police force conceptually should reflect 67% of the black population. As well as community control would have the police officers living within the community in which they work, and you have an effective civilian review board. So that's a progressive position. A progressive position on health would be that we should have a single payer, health insurance operation. In terms of foreign policy, I'm just jumping now. It should be a progressive would be a person that says that we should cut the expenditures of the military in half or reduce it to create funding to have what they had right after World War II, which was called a Marshall Plan that rebuilt the European cities after World War II, but we need to rebuild our communities throughout America, especially in the urban areas. A progressive would be a person who supports reparations. And I could go on and on and on. So that's what I would define progressive as. But then, too, one last point. Mm-hmm. But one of the issues that we have to seriously look at is that too many times in the progressive community or quote-unquote revolutionary community, we're real critical of those who elected, but we don't put up folks to challenge those same folks that we think are corrupt. Yeah. And so, that then is, to me, a criticism that we have to look at if we, be moving forward. And in fact, so everybody be clear, on one of the issues of our newspaper, and we had a lot of pictures of the scenes in Ferguson, but we had this question: police violence, America on trial, moving forward, how do we respond? And we had three, and we had that subject for the black community as far as a community, how do we respond? First, we said the concept of reform. Now, this politics is clearly reform. You would not get out of my mouth that it'd be revolutionary, so that's one thing. Then another position is revolution. But revolution is the overthrow of this whole capitalistic, imperialistic system. And I'm sure everybody knows what that would take, because if you study history, power does not concede itself without, another equal power. And then the other position collectively, just separation. Do we just separate and get the heck on out of this country? But, then if you look at imperialism, because one of our heroes as an organization and one who pushed for a United States of Africa was Muammar Gaddafi. And for me, in my mind, he was like a Huey P. Newton who had an army, and armed forces. But we saw with the superior military technology that the Western world have, that even if you're in your own separate country and doing good for your people, you can easily come under attack, and they do the damage what they had done to him. So those are the options, though, that as a people, to me, that's before us. So until revolution comes, that's where we push in this concept of proportionate political representation. And anyway, there that is.
Let me grab a call. 267 area code 267. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, Brother Elliott. How are you?
How are you, sir?
That's my favorite subject. Politics, especially in Ferguson. I have friends in Ferguson, sir, and I like what you're doing. And as a person from Philadelphia, who I feel I'm conscious and have conscious friends, I've been in a situation like that where there were two other candidates, and I felt as I was more conscious than the other ones, and it so happened that the unconscious person gets in. But let me get back to this Ferguson thing that's gone on. I was told about this election, And I want to ask your questions on it because I don't know your position, your opinion on it, because you were also there. Now, is it true that there were multiple candidates were running for mayor, and it was the one white person who won? But my understanding is there was a Republican in the midst of the multiple black people that were running, and a lot of people who I talked to felt as though the Republican could have did something more than the Democrats who were blacks that were running. Now, I myself am not a pro-Republican person. So in a situation like that, and you being there, this is the right race I'm talking about, people told me about, were the people in shambles on who they should vote for. In other words, a Democrat most of the time wants to vote for a Democrat. They wouldn't vote for Republicans enough to what the Republican Party is doing nationally. The other thing is that I'm leery about Republicans who's black. Right there, that's a contradiction. She is a minority amongst the minority, and your Republican Party is just as racist as you don't know what. But you got some racist Democrats in the Democratic Party also. So tell me more about this race, if it's true, with this one black Republican and the rest were Democrats, and we didn't want that white man in there. Am I talking about the right race? Tell me.
Yeah, too. I had spoke to that. I guess you hadn't heard me earlier.
No.
In St. Louis, you had this situation. Of course, you had the primary election. So you had the Democratic primary election. You had the Republican primary election. You had the Libertarians, and you had the Green Party. And each was selecting their particular candidate who would run in the general election. In the Democratic Party, because St. Louis is basically a Democratic city, and as you say, you have a lot of Democrats that's racist. We had the Democratic mayor who's been racist and had been an incumbent for 4 years. You had a situation where you had 5 black people in the race for mayor, and you had this white female who had been endorsed by the white racist mayor who, as an organization, we have been fighting for a number of years. And so she won the Democratic primary election. Also, so she made it into the general election. Then you did have a Republican primary where we did have a brother who I knew who ran was in the Republican primary, and it was 2 other Republican candidates, and he won the Republican primary. So he was in the general election. Then you had the Green Party candidate, and he won his. He was the only one in that primary, and he won. And as well as you had the Libertarian. So in the general election, and one other factor, you had a white minister who's real progressive, and he had a homeless shelter that provided shelter, a walk-in shelter for a number of black people. And he also had a TV station, which he allowed our organization to have a TV program on there called Conversations with Zaki. He also ran as an independent. But the winner of the general election, as I mentioned, was the white Democrats, because black people did not break out of the cycle of, the Democrats. They just, they can't get past the box, many of our people, I hate to say. And so, yeah, that was the situation in the city of St. Louis. Yeah. Okay,
I have another comment. And some of the people I talked to in Ferguson said to me, Tim, if the Republican who's running, who's back, they felt as though... Be
clear now. We're talking about 2 different places. St. Louis City, that's St. Louis City. Now, Ferguson is one of a number of small municipalities or cities that's in St. Louis County, okay?
Okay.
So it has its own mayor set up too, okay? I just want you to be clear on that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. But some of the friends that I talked to from Ferguson were telling me that listen to this now. Listen to this logic. They said that, and I want you to give me some highlighting on it, because your position, I kind of trusted you being black in consciousness. According to Elliot, I trust Elliot. So I want to hear the rest of this. But the thing is that they told me if the Republican would have won, he could have got what we needed from the Republican Party. Now, I said, oh, really? He could have got what we needed from the Republican Party to help the community. I said, oh, really? So I want to know, was that your position, too, if he would have won?
Well, number one is, in Ferguson, I wasn't aware of a Republican in Ferguson running. It was just the election, from what I know of, was basically, and that's that was not like a primary too. Some cities have what is called nonpartisan elections.
Okay.
So you don't you don't have to go to a primary, and it just goes directly to the general election, and that's where that was in Ferguson. So. So as far as I know, it wasn't no Republican in that particular race. And the race actually boiled down to the sister running against Miss Hawkins against the incumbent white mayor.
Because even a concept like that, I can't see a Republican black getting something from the Republican Party to help a black community. The Republicans are not interested in helping anything black.
Well, I can't argue that point. In fact, let me say this. It was interesting because a lot of people were very disturbed by the fact that in the St. Louis City election that this white woman, the white Democrat, won, which if the brother who was running as a Republican wasn't getting too much support anyway from the established Republican Party here in the city of St. Louis to try to get black folks to break out of the cycle of being Democrats. So that started, they didn't even support like I say, the brother who was running as a Republican. So that speaks of the Republican Party. But then that speaks to another real deep issue, is are we able to build independent parties outside of the major political parties? And, I know of, and that's the challenge, and we will be having a representative from the African Independence Party, a brother out of Pittsburgh, Khalid Rahim, heads that party. And I got to put in a call to a brother in Baltimore who heads the Ujuma Independent Party, and invite them, because one of the questions that we got to look going forward is, do we create independent parties as an alternative to the major party that impacts our community, and that's the Democratic Party. So that's
Thank you for your call, Tim.
Right.
Brother Baruti, to kind of follow up on Richard and Timothy's call, at the political convention that you had in June of last year, you certain things that the agenda points that you were dealing with, but one of them was getting the people to understand and adopt a national and also local political scorecard and grade these elected officials. Now, you have an established agenda, and you network with other people, such as Brother Omawali, who has Richard can correct me if I'm wrong, it was a 21-point, I think, established agenda.
Yeah. No, 19.
19, yes. So it's an established agenda there to grade some of these people, almost like if you're in school, the teacher marks your report card or whatever based off of the established grades out of the textbook or the curriculum out of the textbook. So you're establishing or have an established agenda to put forth to some of these candidates. Now, in your conversation earlier, you mentioned that one of the black candidates that was running down there in Ferguson said that she didn't want activist support in her campaign.
Right.
So
who ended up running for mayor, yes.
Those people like that is the people that our people need to target next time. Because in the situation that we face in this country, we don't need people that's pushing a party line, that's pushing Democratic or Republican principles. We need people that's going to push a conscious black agenda to help our people. Because pushing Democrat and Republican agenda doesn't seem to change things for our people, status-wise or human rights-wise in this country. So we need, based on what you've been always talking about with the African Peoples, Universal African Peoples Organization, is the established principles that are there that the people need to say, I get behind or I don't get behind. That's the litmus test for a lot of these elected officials, especially in your area and nationally. Once we get other people on board with understanding, even if we don't have a black political party and you have blacks running as Democrats, they're going to have to acknowledge to the people that they support these principles or they're not. Like that woman said, I don't want your support. So they have to be held accountable for statements like that. And I know that you agree.
You're absolutely right. But again, let me point out a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, at our conference, I'm glad you did raise it up. On the first evening of the conference, it will be opening up with like a reception, cocktail reception, featuring black elected officials. We know a number of them. We'll invite them there. But once there, we'll be passing out that 19-point platform.
Okay.
To see which of them will be bold enough to endorse it, as well as, if they have any problem. I'm looking at trying to, have that kind of survey, like if they disagree with, say, 1 or 2 points, and they have to provide the reasons why. But like you say, like a report card, and that would be the report card as far as those 19 points. So that's one thing, and we plan on doing that. But let's say they don't. Let's say for instance, you just mentioned that Sister Hawkins. Again, the issue is who would step up to the plate within those jurisdictions or within those municipalities to challenge those folks that we feel need to be challenged. I'm going to go a little even deeper. Like when we were after this racist mayor, our organization led a situation to recall the mayor. Okay, we did a petition thing. And one of the people who, we had a sister who was supporting that effort. But 4 years afterwards, or shortly, we had a brother who was running against the mayor, and they flipped and endorsed the mayor. Ideally, but we couldn't get nobody, we would need someone to challenge that sister who became a sellout, to get her up out of that position. Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Oh, most definitely understand.
So the task is past us criticizing, because it's easy to stand on the sidelines and criticize. But you got to get into the heat of the fire if you are serious. And that's what it is my challenge to the, again, quote unquote, using for a better word, of the progressive black community.
You know what? And not to cut across you, when Brother Omowale was on and talked about the forum that they had a couple of weeks ago when Brother Cam Howard from Nkober was there, talked about the teaching our people how to run a campaign, how to organize. See, I think some of our people, and I'm just dealing in the city I live in, a lot of our people are critical of these elected officials, but they don't really know how to get their message to their people, how to run a campaign. I guess it's ways that you have to learn how to do that. So, I understand what you're saying, that it's people there, but you can't seem to develop the people to run against these sellout politicians.
I'm not going to say We can't, but that's the challenge.
That's a challenge.
We have to win.
Okay.
We have to do that.
Well, listen.
So those will be some of the subjects that we'll be looking at our conference in terms of some issues. We'll be just pointedly, how do we increase black voter turnout? How do we develop new candidates who are willing to run? How do we fund the campaigns? Because, it takes money to get your message out. So, in essence, the keys to a successful election, the role of the spiritual institutions in supporting proportionate political representation.
Wow, that's a subject in itself.
Absolutely. But those are critical subjects and critical issues within our community that we got to deal with.
Listen,
that's why I'm excited about our conference. Anybody, and I'm going to have to keep on moving. I got another engagement I got to prepare for, but those are some of the issues that we'll be dealing with. Anybody that's interested who's in your listening audience, they can get back with me directly at area code 314-477-4629, or else area code 314-833-4151, which puts you in touch with our office, or else they can email me at Zaki Baruti, UAPO at Hotmail, and that's ZAKIBARUTI, UAPO at Hotmail, or go to our website, which we're reconstructing our website right now. Should be up and running in a couple of days. www.uapo.org.
Brother Baruti, before you leave us, I want to ask you a couple of short questions. I want to get this in. Last week, you had a conference there in St. Louis. It was an organizing conference. But one of the things that Minister Farrakhan and Akbar Muhammad and others that sponsored it was trying to develop 10,000 men to start to recruit for community patrols. I understand that you men down there in St. Louis, Ferguson area, yourself and your organization, the Universal African Peoples Organization, have developed a group of men to start community patrols. I think that this is a major solution towards these rogue police officers running willy-nilly in our neighborhoods, killing men, women, and children, young people like Michael Brown. This would be a major buffer into watching not only our communities, helping police some of our people that are out of control, because we do have people that are out of control, and also watching these out of control officers, is developing a mechanism where we can police our own communities. White folks have it. They have that's that clown down there in Florida killed Trayvon Martin. He was a community police, a community patrol policeman. So we can do the same things. Some of these white neighborhoods use tax dollars to fund their community policemen, to get them walkie-talkies and reflective jackets and hats, and their community organizations written on the back. We can use the same type of things if we have conscious elected officials to fund these black community control police. Talk about the organization that the African Universal African Peoples Organization put together to patrol our communities, and plus what happened in regards to Brother Akbar Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan's event last week to recruit men to do this.
Okay, excellent questions. And it's a twofold answer on that. Initially, I start with the most recent one. When you say Mr. Farrakhan and Akbar, actually here in St. Louis, this initiative was led by a brother who was on the front line with me in Ferguson named Anthony Shaheed and his organization, the Tawheed Youth Organization.
Okay.
Which nation supported, and he supports the nation.
Okay.
And call was for 10,000 black men on the street going directly into the hood. And as an organization, years back, he had been doing that, okay, going to some of the worst areas and trying to talk to the brothers to motivate them to change their, behaviors and what have you. So, and that was part of a week-long activities commemorating their 30-year anniversary. And, of course, our organization was in support of that effort. And we had a number of our male members, including myself, that partake of the patrol. And it was a beautiful, site. It had about 300, 400 actual men on the streets. And, in fact, he just recently called me. We're going to be trying to put together that with different organizations taking different nights to go into the hood, okay?
Okay.
And that's a beautiful thing. Let me just say, I truly like going among our people. And you can't be afraid of the people. And, in fact, on a whole nother level, and just like last night, I was actually in Kansas City, Missouri, at a meeting to drum up support for our political conference. But late that night, Conrad and I, we went into a street party organized by motorcycle club, and I had a great time, okay? But that's how we got to be among our people. And so to that end, there are plans that we would be doing this on a consistent level, the street patrols. On a side note, in St. Louis most recently, and I think it's happening across the country, there's a lot of missing people coming up.
Yes.
And involving sisters. And in one instance, a young 12-year-old schoolgirl was on her way to school and she was abducted and was missing for a couple of days, and they eventually found her in an abandoned house, bloodied and, of course, had been sexually assaulted. So one of the progressive brothers who was running for office reached out to our organization, a couple other organizations, to hold a press conference in front of that vacant house. Later on, because one of our members was real deep into the community, kind of smoked out the person who had done that dastardly deed. But as an extension of that, our organization has put together what we call a street patrol. And we got, and you'll see, I must make sure you get copies of the paper when it comes out. You'll see a picture of a couple of our members who are part of our street patrol, just to be observant in terms of what is taking place in our community. So most definitely we got to take back our community.
Yes.
If we don't take it back, then we ain't got nothing coming. And then the gangsters both in the blue uniform and some that look like us, would continue to flourish and do the kind of evil deeds that they do. And when I mention evil deeds, just most recently I was quoted in the white weekly newspaper, daily newspaper, where they moved. I mentioned about this white progressive minister who had a homeless shelter that they closed down. I called a spade like a spade. I called it, that was none but demonic forces, and that's what we're fighting, demonic forces against our community. And we got to be man enough and woman enough to rise up against that. And so that's where we at as an organization. That's where I'm at as an individual in our community, wanting to see a betterment of our community. And that's why I appreciate what you're doing in terms of working to educate our people through your program. And I just encourage you to keep doing so, as well as I encourage you to come on down to St. Louis. Meet us here in St. Louis. We'd love to have you on May 19th and the 20th.
Yeah, well, listen, I enjoyed our conversation when you were up here in Philadelphia and Brother Westbrook brought you over to my place of business. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again, whether it's in St. Louis or here in Philadelphia.
Well, let's make it now. I'm putting a challenge to you publicly now. Let's make it, it was some kind of song, beat me in St. Louis. In St. Louis.
You hear that, Richard?
Yes, sir.
Y'all got to come and see us. When last time y'all been in St. Louis?
Yeah, I ain't never been.
Oh, man. Well, you got to come then, okay?
All right.
All right.
Brother Baruti, listen, before you leave again, give out that number where people can reach you in regards to getting information about the Black Political Convention.
All right, they can reach me at area code 314-477-4629.
All right. I want to thank you for being with us. And, I'll be in touch with you. You can come on periodically to let us know what's going on. In fact, I'll probably be in touch with you right after the convention to talk about some of the things that was covered.
Oh, I thought you were going to be in touch with me at the convention. I'm still on there, okay?
We'll talk.
Okay? All right.
Talk to you soon.
Okay, then. All right, brother.
All right.
All right.
We'll be right back. We'll be going in open forum after the break. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Black Talk Radio Network. For podcasts and live program scheduling, visit us on the web at blacktalkradionetwork.com.
All Insurance Incorporated, an African-American owned and operated insurance agency and business for over 20 years, located at 231 Southeastern Road in Glenside, PA, with other offices in Germantown and West Philadelphia. Call now for commercial insurance quotes, homeowners insurance quotes, automobile insurance quotes, notary and tax services, representing over 15 major A-rated insurance companies, offering a discount on all notary services when you call in for a free quote. Call this number, 215-885-2444. That number is 215-885-2444. 215-885-2444. All Insurance Incorporated.
Before your roof becomes unruly, call Dooley. Dooley Brothers, specializing in shingle, rubber roofs, gutters, downspouts, and vinyl sidings. Call for your free estimate today. 215-224-3882. That's 215-224-3882. Dooley Brothers Roofing, the roofing experts you can trust. That number again, 215-224-3882. 215-224-3882. Before your roof becomes unruly, call Dooley.
Hey, did y'all see the stuff I posted on my wall?
No, it didn't even show up in my news feed.
Man, I'm done with social media. All the injustice and brutality going around, and it's like they're trying to suppress our voice. We're trying to get the message out there, and you can't even share empowerment and what's going on around the country either.
Nah, don't be dumb with social media, though. It's a tool, and there is a place where we have a voice. It's a Let's Buy Black 365 social network. You do anything you would on any other social network. Post pictures, videos, status updates, share resources and community news. But on Let's Buy Black 365, it's a platform for us and by us to tell our messages.
Whoa, that's like a digital underground railroad.
What's the name of that site again?
It's letsbuyblack365.com.
Yeah, I heard about that. It's all about networking, and you get points, right?
Yeah, the more you network, post, and share, the more points you get. Plus, you get points for posting pictures, sharing information, attending community events, and inviting others to network with you on the app.
Wow, that's all I need to know. I'm going to go download that app right now.
Now, better yet, let me invite you so I can get some points. It's all about empowerment and solutions, y'all.
Yeah, that's what's up. I'm all in.
Let's do it. Let's share our stories.
Let's buy Black 365.com.
On the move. Assalamu alaikum. Free Mumia. Free Mumia. Free Mumia. Free Mumia now. Brothers and sisters, comrades, it's certainly my pleasure to be here. One of your state representatives from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I am ashamed to be a state representative in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania with a chump like Governor Ridge at the helm. I'm ashamed. But I wanted to come here today to let you know that some of us are not afraid. That even though we may be elected, we'll say what's on our mind. But we must understand that we're freedom fighters first, and that all the other things come next. That I'm a black man first, and then a state representative. I don't confuse the two. And I think it's time for us to wake up and realize and understand that you got a lot of us that are willing to go to battle, because the freedom ain't gonna never be free unless we take it. There's too many of us sitting around thinking that it's gonna come to us on some damn silver platter. Wake up, you fools, and understand this man has no respect for you. None whatsoever. And they will continue to do what they do to Mumia only because they feel that you don't have no heart. Well, let me just say this to y'all. I want to send a message to the FOP. I want to make it loud and clear so it won't be any mistake about what's being said today. And I'm saying it as a black man in the city of Philadelphia and not as the state representative. I ain't scared the hell of y'all. And I'm not going to let you intimidate our people either. That's over. So when you come on with some threat about you going to boycott every event that we have and you're going to stop the people from coming to contribute their money, get the hell out of our way, because we ain't going nowhere. The time has come for everybody to wake up and realize that this ain't no joke. We're not going to let you take Mumia's life. And we want to send a message to America that the death penalty has got to end. We're going to wipe it out the same way they did in South Africa. But they did it by power of the people. When Nelson Mandela stepped out of jail and threw his hands up in the air, he was a strong brother. After 27 years being in jail, it didn't cripple his spirit. And I want to let all of you know that have come from all across this country. You got some brothers and sisters in Philadelphia that are willing to rumble no matter what and ain't afraid of the Philadelphia police, the National Police, the FOP, and all the rest of them that come together with it. In my conclusion, I just want to say, I know the time has been rough today, but a lot of y'all need to know what this looks like for many of us here in the city of Philadelphia. Governor Ridge is getting a message again. Not only did those 115,000 calls go on, that's an underestimated of the number that have been calling, as an underestimated number of those who signed petitions, as an underestimated number of those who have come in and out of the city of Philadelphia from all across this country to give the kind of solidarity that's needed in order to make sure we free Mumia Abu-Jamal. We're not going to take this lying down. And I know that Mumia in his heart knows that we're all with him. So brothers and sisters, we're here as freedom fighters and black liberation strugglers who understand the importance of who and what we are, and we ain't gonna let no titles get in the way. Free Mumia. Free Mumia. Free Mumia. Free Mumia. No justice. No justice. Assalamu alaikum.
From antiquity to the present, our people need to develop a new paradigm. It's time for an awakening with your host, Brother Elliot. Sundays, 7 p.m., Fridays at 8 p.m. for podcasting or live program scheduling. Hit us up at timeforanawakening@gmail.com. Welcome back to Time for an Awakening, and I want to thank our guest that was with us in the first hour and a half of the program, President General of the Universal African Peoples Organization and the editor of the African Newsworld, Brother Zaki Baruti, was with us, and I want to thank him for his work and his diligence, his spirit of working together and cohesiveness. He reached out to 1 million conscious and conscientious black voters and contributors, Brother Richard, and invited Donnie Bradford and others down to the convention last year. He reached out to Brother Omar Wali Yeshatella and adopted the 19-point agenda. His other members, he said he's been up in Baltimore reaching out to some black independent parties up at there, Pittsburgh. So we see that this movement is growing. and it's necessary. It's very necessary. So, I'm glad he has the spirit to be able to work with. We've talked about that with other folks that have been on the program about having the spirit to be able to organize. That's a talent, Brother Richard.
Oh yes, a skill.
It's a skill, and I agree with that. That's a definite skill to be able to organize people. It's a lot of people with voice and good ideas, but they can't get 3 people to work together. But when you can get some of our people, especially the mental challenges that we have faced and been bombarded with since we've been in this country, when you can get our people to start working together, that individual should be treasured. And that's a skill that can be taught to other people because we definitely need it. We got to work together to get out of this situation. We got to.
And I was glad to hear that he was saying about there's some other formations amongst younger people that are, he's able to recognize that are picking up the consciousness and therefore the conscientiousness to kind of organize around the ideal or belief of Pan-Africanism. That he's seeing that, because that's that intergenerational piece is going to be so important to be able to identify the future leaders to do the same thing or to continue in this. But Elliot, as I'm listening to him again, I'm glad that he brought about the proportional political representation, and that as you said, he's reaching out to these other political formations in other cities to be able for them to come together. And as we were talking about Friday, when we were talking about the conventions, the political conventions of the 1800s, those were formations in different cities that came together at different periods over the 1830s. And I would like to believe or see that that's what's occurring again, and get some lessons learned from that. But I think we also have to push more than just, as you said, we already have the agenda. We already have the vision. So, and what it seems to me, Brother Baruti, is the organizer, what he's given is what I think is so important and powerful, is that you need people on the ground if you want to do this utilize this electoral tool. And you have to know how to go about it. You have to know how it works when you're running candidates, and you have to know what you have to do in order to get those votes out. But I think the political, if we're truly going to be about political management, we have to look at what are those resources that not the political machine is in control of, but what are the resources we as a people have? Because we have to demonstrate to ourselves that we are managing our political resources effectively in order to get other people to believe or participate in the political process.
Yeah,
I agree. To be one moves into the other.
I agree. We have to believe that we can do this, and it's clear that we can. But I think that some of our people lack the confidence that we can accomplish these things. And that
look at the conflict compared to what's the confidence and the conversion of things that we can do together. And we hear most of the time about the conflicts we have with each other more than what is the relationships we created in spite of the conflicts that we have with each other.
Yeah, and we got a couple calls on hold. I'm going to go to them in 1 second. But, Richard, if you notice some things, because we've had people on from all over this country talking about different movements and positive things that are going on in their areas. But when we had Dr. Millier on, it was talking about the Black Coffee Political Party. Brother Omowale Yeshiteli, that was talking about the Black is Back movement, and even Zaki Baruti. A lot of those movements are going on in the Black Belt, and he was talking about the proportional political control of those areas. But those political parties, if you notice in Philadelphia here, which is the fifth largest city in this country, in other major cities, they don't have independent black parties that we know of. And then we've been in Philadelphia basically all our lives. It's not here. Because if we had a conscious political black party, it could pick up some steam here in some of these cities. And some of these other areas might be able to teach some of our people in these cities how to do these things. We got to network. We got to establish think tanks. We got to reach out and have people come in. You know, some of these cities are very provincial. I don't want nobody coming from Pittsburgh, coming to Philadelphia. You heard the talk, Richard. You heard those type of comments. I mean, our people are, listen, we were talking to Mr. Beckton, the historian, on Friday, and talked about in 1830 when they established that political conference then. And our people were enslaved at that point, but you had people that were free in the North. People came from all over to come to Philadelphia to talk about
Baltimore, New York.
Exactly.
Ohio. Mm-hmm.
And those were major trips at that time. It's not like now where you can get on a train or even a plane or drive a car and be there in a few hours. Those were major trips for those people. Yeah, that was horse and buggy type of voyage. So, you know, we can...
a sense of urgency.
Exactly.
In relationship to, and those men and you know, who we see and those women who were supportive, they recognize that, as you kind of constantly emphasize, they recognize that their responsibility to the people they come from compared to the opportunity they seen for themselves. That was today. We're wrestling with individuals, even in the political machinery. And I understand what Brother Baruti was saying when you were making reference to the sister that ran and didn't want any what's that?
What she called it, activist support. I mean,
to be so, you know. But I understand, you know, being in a white district and having the consciousness to wanting to win. But the question get back to would she have, if she won, and that's the point you were raising, would she have still brought in the platform or the planks that the conscious community recognized, and for her to win, she may not need them to do that, but she identified with the planks and the platform. That in that era of the 1830s, those men and women, they understood the necessity of the planks and the platform.
You know, and at least
today, everybody was dealing with themselves.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. Go ahead.
You know, so that's the you know, the difference in it, and we can see it. And again, we're going to reemphasize when we're talking about political associations, as I see it, we have to, and to ourselves, to show that consciousness, as Dr. Asante said, that consciousness of victory, we have to manage something. And today, you know, the resources we have to manage is our own behavior in relationship to showing what power really is. So when we're saying that we are a generation is growing up, using the example with the pants down, that's a reflection of our inability as a community, as a people, in districts and in communities. That's a political question. That's a political issue. And until we can be able to say, well, look, you know, you got to pull them pants up, whether I'm with you or without you, even if you think that that's it, until we can be able to give that, you know, then we really don't have control over our community. And therefore, again, we don't have political control. And again, what Brother Baruti is saying is that when you don't have political control, the primary election, when we come out, I think what he said is that it snowed that day.
Yeah.
And that's why the participation was low. There was no sense of urgency for the community in Ferguson, knowing the condition of the mayor, that they were going to have snow come stop them. It's you know, it's something there. It's something about that.
Yeah, and
they're us managing us.
Yeah, and they're not alone. That what happened in Ferguson is not unique to Ferguson. That stuff is going on in Philadelphia, New York, all the cities. Our
We
people
got
got
a
to
DA race with that whole going.
exactly. I mean, we got to realize, especially that statement she made about she don't want activists supporting her. I mean, you got to hold. Anytime you got a black person saying that, you got to hold them accountable for them statements. You know, they don't seem to realize, and maybe they do, that when you back your people, you'll have the respect of your people. Some of these elected officials that want to pander to a Democratic agenda, pander to white folks' agenda, do everything they say, they think in their mind that they're receiving some type of degree of equality. White folks don't respect them when they do that. They don't respect them, period. They didn't respect this president that we had for 8 years, that black people was falling all over the chair, falling out the chairs for. They looked at him just like they looked at people on the street. The N-word. They didn't have no respect for him. So what makes it some of these black elected officials think that when they do everything that white folks say and pander to their agendas and things like that, that they're going to respect them? You got a wake-up call, and our people going to have to give them the wake-up call. I mean, that's it, boy. I mean, that didn't surprise me when Baruti said that they went to, I forgot the woman's name, the elected officials. She said she didn't want activist support. Boy, I'm telling you. Let's go to the calls. 602 area code 602.
Yes, Brother Elliot and Brother Richard. Good afternoon. This is Brother Marcus from Memphis.
Hey, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing all right with brothers. You know, I like what that brother said. You mentioned.
You still there, Marcus?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I like what the brother mentioned when he mentioned a solution there, back to Africa, organizing a back to Africa movement. And, you know, I saw this quote here from the brother Carlos Cooks. He said, world status shall only, world status for black folks, we only get world status when we begin to reclaim Africa as our homeland. We begin to reclaim the motherland as our homeland. And, you know, 400 years is long enough to know. You know, if we have been living here with these crackers here over 400 years, and we haven't been able to work out any type of human relationship with these white folks. If we could have worked out any relationship, we could have worked it out in 400 years. Don't you think so?
Most definitely.
Yeah. So they have no intention of working out any relationship with us. And they have no intention of giving us any space in this place here, you know, that they stole from the red man, used us as tools to build it for him. You know, they have no intention of giving us anything in this society. But I was just jotting down a few points, you know, when the brother was talking. And I'd just like to mention them. The first of all, our major problem is lack of organization. We have to study the mechanics of organization. That's one problem. Two, as the brother said, we have to develop an internal corrective force to deal with some of these bad characters that get rewarded for bad behavior from the system in our community. Because he mentioned about the election, 5 Negroes running against one white man. I mean, you know, I have seen them do the same thing down here in Memphis. 3 Negroes running against one white man, you know, and we have 67% of the population. See what I'm saying? So, I mean, that is total backwardness.
Exactly.
Okay? Now, the second point is, how do we organize ourselves as a mass movement to get our people out of here, out of America, while simultaneously organizing our economic and psychological life? Because that's the main problem, one of the big problems we have. We have a psychological problem as a race that prevent us from getting our economic life together. So we have to do those things simultaneously and at the same time try and organize a mass movement to get out of here. But we can do it because we are very creative people. We are very talented people. And I said, we must study the mechanics of organization. So it's time now. It's due time. You know, we have organizations. We hear organizations called. We just need an organizer. That's what we need. We need somebody who can organize. We probably need a general. You know what I'm saying? That's what we need. Another Marcus Garvey who could organize, tie all the knots together, and we'll put it together because it's time. It's time, and the people on the continent, they're ready too. Because I communicated with Africans on the continent. No, they have problems there too now. They got Negroes over there, you see, but we don't need everybody when we organize getting our stuff together. We don't need all them crazy folks. We just need a few good folks. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, I thank you, good brother.
Marcus, as always, thank you for your call.
You take care.
Peace. Let's go to 215. 215, area code 215.
Hey, Brother Elliot, how you doing?
Hey, sir. How you doing?
Hey, fine. Hey, Brother Richard, how you doing, good brother?
All right, good now. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Our praise is big. First I want to say I enjoyed your guest Friday. I'm sorry I wasn't prepared to say anything to the brother we had on Friday. He had some good information, as well as the brother that you had on a few minutes ago, Brother Zaki Baruti. Excellent information and stuff. And Brother Marcus, of course, when he calls, he always is spot on with his comments. Brother Richard and Brother Elliot, when you talked about that black politician, I think that's the one that's in St. Louis or Ferguson, that said she didn't want activist support.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, see, that's why it's a mix, to me, Brother Elliot and Brother Richard, it's a mixed blessing whenever y'all play that tape of the late, great Dave Richardson. Because I say it's a mixed blessing because it gives me hope and inspiration to her brother, like he who's so strong, and he makes it very clear that I'm a black man first and a state rep second. And then when you hear a negress, like this negress in St. Louis telling them she don't want activist support, that's why I say it's a mixed blessing, because so many of these gutless, spineless Negroes, and you hit the nail on the head, Brother Elliot, they don't understand when they Minister Furr tried to tell these Negroes that, they ain't going to say Negroes, he tried to tell these niggas that years ago, because they not Negro, they niggas, because they not even Negro, they niggas. He tried to tell them that years ago, that when you sell your people out to the white man, he has no respect for. He'll use you up like a rag, but then he throws you right back into the laps of your people. And you see that clearly, Brother Richard and Brother Elliot, right here in Philadelphia with Steph Williams. He's a prime example of that. That Negro did all that rotten stuff for these devils. He went after Momir, tried to get Momir killed. He wouldn't prosecute these racist white cops when they brutalized black people. He went after black elected officials for taking chump change.
He double-crossed the community with that stop and frisk. If you remember when he was running, he was against stop and frisk.
That's right. And then when he became the DA, he was all for it. And then he lined up with the FOP and them racist bastards to go after black people. I mean, he did everything he could for these devils, and now that same white establishment is coming after his behind. They're going to throw his dumb black ass in jail soon. I mean, these Negroes, they never learn. These niggas never learn, man. And that's why, like you said, Elliot, when you sell your people out, like I said, a white man, of course he's going to use you, male or female. The Clarence Thomases, all them Negroes got their day and stuff, but he has no respect for you, because the bottom line to the white man, as devilish as this white man and white woman is, they not stupid. They saying to themselves, how can I respect a black man or woman if they don't have no love and respect for their own people? You know what I mean? And that's why they have no respect for them Negroes. And that's why they throw them right back into the laps of their people, and these Negroes never learn. So this Negress in St. Louis, she think because she talking all that stuff that's going to impress white folks. They'll use her dumb black ass up, and then when they get tired of it, they'll lock her behind up, throw her in jail, whatever they have to do with. She's no longer no use for them. And another example, one, Elliot and Richard, is that Negro up in Chicago, Mel Reynolds. He was a Negro that let the Zionists use him to go after Gus Savage, who passed away a few years ago. Great brother. The Zionists put him up to it. You know, he went after say Gus Savage was anti-Semitic, got all them stupid Negroes up in Chicago and to vote the brother out of office. The same stuff that was did to Cynthia McKinney when she didn't bow down to the state of Israel. So what happens? He did all this stuff. and he trashed Minister Farrakhan, called him an anti-Semitic. See how faded, working mysterious ways. He did all that stuff for them devils, and at the end, they threw this behind in jail, said he was a pedophile pervert. He was messing with underage children, threw his behind in jail. And see, like the minister said, they knew if he was doing it, they knew he was doing that stuff back when he was going against Gus Savage. But they said used him because they didn't care at that time. When he was no longer no use for him, that's when they threw his behind in jail. And at the time that Negro was in jail, Brother Ellen, Brother Richard, guess who took care of his family financially? Minister Farrakhan. The same man who he was saying was an anti-Semitic, bigot, anti-Jewish. The minister helped support his family financially. That's how fake work in mysterious ways, brother. You know what I mean? So these Negroes, like I said, they never learn. They continue to let this stuff be used and stuff to these people. And then when these people have no more use for them, they show just what they think of them and stuff like that. And that's why I say it's so a mixed blessing when you hear a brother like Dave, because Dave Richardson was a rare person, man. He was a man that was a man. That's why I said on his tombstone, the word should be called "Here Lies a Man," because they made it clear to them devils, I'm a black man. I became a state rep. That was just something that just happened in my life, and I'm going to use this office to better my people. But don't get it twisted. Like Dave said, I'm a black man first. That's why, like I say, whenever the minister came to Philadelphia, Minister Farrakhan, Dave was right there, front and center. And that's why the minister delivered one of the eulogies at Dave's funeral and stuff, because the minister knew how much Dave meant to him and stuff. Man, that was a man. He didn't care about what them Zionist Jews or bigots say. He said, I'm going to be by Minister Farrakhan as my brother. I'm not going to run away from my brother. You got some of these Negroes right now, Brother Elliot. Forget about Minister Farrakhan. I'm on Mami Abu Jamal. You got black elected officials in this town right now. Like when Dave said in that speech you played, he said, I ain't scared of the FOP, right?
Oh, you got plenty of them even right now that's afraid to even mention his name.
That's what I'm talking about. You got right now, right here in Philadelphia, right now, that's in office. I'm talking about city councilmen. I'm talking about city council women. I'm talking about state reps, state senators. They scared of Mitch Momia's name right now. They so scared of the FOP. They scared to death of them. Hey, matter of fact, Brother Elliot, Richard, you can get them Negroes to say, well, you know what? I don't know whether Momia is innocent or not, but at the very least, I don't think he got a fair trial.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. And the thing about it, Joe, a lot of these elected officials here in Philadelphia are lawyers. They're attorneys.
Sure.
They can read. I'm quite sure they can read that case file and see and voice their opinion.
But
they don't do it.
But I give you a good example. Another example. Look at the cowardly ex-mayor you had, John Street. Sure, what a coward he is. Several years ago, when he was in his second term in office, this was after he was in office. So wait a minute, thing we had to worry about getting elected. He was in office. John Street made a comment to members of the black press. He said, well, you know, Mamiya, he said, I think Mamiya deserves a new trial. He said, I remember John Street is a lawyer too, like he said, he's a lawyer. So John said, well, I think he didn't get a fair trial. He said, I don't know about his guilt or innocence, but I think he at the very least deserves a new trial. No sooner he said that, here come the racist FOP, that devil's that got killed, Faulkner, his skank, bigoted wife, Maureen Faulkner. Boy, they came out of the woodwork and they jumped on John Street like with all, and that Negro started backfire. Oh, I'm so sorry. What's his exact words, Richard Nelly? I want the listener audience who listen to your show across the nation and stuff. All them brothers, Brother Marcus, everybody listen. This Negro started, I'm so sorry, Miss Faulkner. I didn't mean to offend you. I didn't mean to bring your family no hurt. And if I offended any FOP, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean to offend or bring pain to the police. I said, you spineless, gutless Negro, you. I said, you mean to tell me you don't have a right to your opinion? Now, this is the same Negro who bow and stracks his behind where like the minister says, he stracks where he don't itch because he's bowed down to Maureen Faulkner and her racist behind stuff and the FOP. But this is the same Negro that was at the Union Hall, right, during his first term, when Brother Rob and all them was down there, and he got up there and said, in no uncertain terms, he was speaking to all black people at the Union Hall down on Delaware Avenue, Elliott and Richard. And guess what he said? He said, don't think because I'm black you're going to get anything special. He said, just because I'm black, don't expect nothing because you ain't going to get nothing. Oh, he talked real tough down there to black people now. But when it came to Maureen Faulkner and FOP, he was like a little pussycat. You know what I mean? And this is what these Negroes do. They got no backbone. They got no heart. All these, like Malcolm said, they get the gorilla suit on when it come to black people. They tough then. But when it come to them devils, brother, they back down. They bow down. That's why the Honorable Minister Farrakhan made a 8 CD tape that I got, CD of last year, where he says, why black leadership bow down to the Zionists. The minister broke it down so nice. And when I say Zion, that means all because they Caucasian people too, whether they call themselves Jews, Zionists, white, Irish, whatever, Italian, they're all white people at the end of the day. And that's why these Negroes bow and stretch where they don't itch and stuff like that. They got no backbone. Like I say, they tough when it comes to black people, but when it comes to standing up for white racism, they're a bunch of spineless Negroes. The absurdity of that, I don't want activist support. These Negroes are so silly and stuff. They silly and stuff. They make you sick to your stomach, Brother Elliot and Brother Richard. They're gutless, spineless, lack of a spine that they got,
Joe, I want to mention something, because in that segment that I played, the late Dave Richardson, when he talked about him and a few other of Pennsylvania black elected officials was against the death penalty. You remember you saying that? And that they're not going to let them kill Mumia. If you notice now that nationally, it's been things happening with black judges, and especially judges that have came out publicly and said that they wasn't for the death penalty anymore. They wasn't going to institute the death penalty anymore. The judge up there in Chicago killed. I hope maybe Brother X call up and give us a little background. The judge down there in Florida, young black woman, that said, I'm not instituting no death penalty on nobody anymore because it's unfair. It's racially biased. They sent her some nooses in the mail and hate mail
That's right.
against
That's
her.
right.
The Muslim woman judge up there in New York City that was jogging. Next thing you know, she ends up in the Hudson River.
That's correct.
And they put out reports.
Yeah.
They put out reports that she committed suicide.
And they said bullshit.
And her husband said that my wife didn't commit suicide.
That's right.
And they put out a false report saying that her mother and her brother had committed suicide in the past. That wasn't true. So hopefully maybe Jay out of New York will call and give us a little background on what's going, because there's something going on here.
Oh, no question.
All of a sudden you starting to get a little, I don't care whether it's a little slumber and people wake. Some people, when it's time to get up, they wake up.
That's true.
Some people, it takes a little while. They lay there for a few minutes, and then one eye opens and the other eye, and then they finally put one foot out the bed and the other out. So maybe some of our people waking up a little bit later than others. But there's something going on here when you all of a sudden you're seeing all these judges, and it might be more nationally, they're starting to say, I'm not going to institute this death penalty. They had little problems there in Arkansas. They wanted to, now they put a black guy to death here this week.
That's correct.
They wanted to rush to put several people to death because the contract that they had with this company, the poison, it was going to run out. What kind of inhumane people are these people here in this country? You want to rush to put a bunch of people to death because you're getting ready to. Did you hear that, Richard?
Oh.
Richard. Oh, we must have lost. I guess he'll get back in here. I don't know whether you heard that, Joe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no doubt, Elliot. And see, Elliot, again, you said what kind of people, and there's no hatred. This is reality. Didn't the Honorable Elijah Muhammad try to tell you these people are devils, brother? And see, when he said a white man a devil, Negroes, like I say, get more upset about that than white people, because white people know who they are. They know that. Like I say, even honest white people will let you know that they're the devil. They don't hide it. You know what I mean? There's one white boy named Tim Wise, who I have a lot of respect for. He went around the country saying that the white man is the devil. He said our people are the most hateful, racist, vile people that ever been on this earth. And this man been castigated by other whites, even, I guess, castigated by Negroes for saying it. Because, their actions speak for itself. Like you said, Elliot, what kind of vile people would, and what get me, Brother Elliot and Brother Richard, this country love to jump up there talking about some human rights violations. Well, let me ask you this, Brother Elliot. What is more of a human rights violation than to have people of your country drinking contaminated water? Can you answer that for me, Brother Elliot?
Well, listen.
If that's not a human rights violation, I don't know what a human rights violation is.
But wait a minute. They put all out in the public for public consumption. Now, I don't care what they tell their people, but they put all out on the news, and black people talking about it, about Syria gassed their own people, how this much of atrocity this was. When you had government sanction of black people being poisoned up there in Flint and other cities. And now the reports are starting to leak out about all these deformities that didn't happen from these people being poisoned.
Sure. And see, but I'm glad you raised
now,
that.
where's the responsibility in that? You looking at Syria, Whether they gas their people, I don't know that for sure. But I do know for sure that this government was behind people being poisoned in Flint. I know that for sure.
And Elliot, guess what else you know for sure? Didn't this same country inject black men with syphilis and gonorrhea? Am I right, Elliot?
Oh, most definitely.
That's what I'm saying. So we know what this country has done, still doing, and capable of doing. So we see what again. Yes, silly Negroes again that follow behind this white media. Well, Saddam Hussein, he killed his own people, and I always said back then when that happened, I said, well, I don't know whether Saddam killed his own people or not, but I know these devils over here sure killing us. And this was way before the death of Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown. These devils been killing us from day one. See, Negroes are so quick like a parrot. Anything these crackers say, the Negroes right there to repeat it. Well, Saddam killed his own people. I'm saying to myself, well, I don't know whether he killed his ass. And if he did kill his own people, then his own people would deal with him. And so same with Assad and Syria. But one thing we know is black people, what these devils doing us over here. Wait, they killing us every chance they get, whether it's through the police, whether it's through bad water, whether it's through bad food, bad air, bad living conditions. We know they're killing us. That we ain't got a debate about that, you know what I mean? But yet Negroes can simply say, well, I'm over here fighting for Iraqis' people's freedom. Well, damn it, you should be over here fighting for your own people's freedom, you fool. I said, you come back with that uniform on and thinking you're a patriotic Negro, and some white cops, some of you take that uniform off, you come back to civilian life, some white racist cop will blow your damn brains out if you done serve your country and being patriotic. I mean, we are some silly Negroes, man. Like I said about that brother, Kenneth Chamberlain, that of all the cases of black men, that for some reason, Brother Elliot and Brother Richard, and to the listening audience of Time for the Awakening, that case sticks in my craw. Here was a brother upstate New York, Mr. Kenneth Chamberlain, a decorated World War II Marine, got all kinds of medals for bravery, valor, all that stuff, and yet a white racist cop blew this man away. Because the man has mental issues and stuff like that. The people told the cops when they came to his house, be gentle with the man. The man has got mental issues. He's not a violent man. He just has his little episodes because the man got, he got traumatized by the war. They shot devils sent him over to fight and stuff like that, and they proceeded to kill a man anyway. So what did Mr. Chamberlain, all his medals that he had, what did they mean to them crackers? He was just another nigger. You understand what I'm saying, Elliot? Just another nigger to them.
Let's go.
So our people, we just don't get it, man. We just it's as silly as we can be, some of us and stuff. Like you said, I don't want act. That doesn't get me. I don't want activist support. That's your people. You talking about grassroots black people. That you get the support of them, no matter what them devils do to you. When you got the support of your people, that's why they support you. And I close with this, Alex. I know other people want to go on. Why do you think a brother like Marion Barry rests his soul? Marion had his little thing with the drug thing. Black people love Marion Barry. That's why he was able to get reelected councilman again, as well as mayor, because you know why? He was for his people, man. He was for his people. And so when he got himself, like the minister said, when Barron got himself cleaned up, got off them drugs and stuff like that, black people welcome back open arms because Barron is for his people. And this is what these dumb Negroes, male and female, don't understand. This is why Dave Richardson going to be forever loved. That's why Marion Barry going to be forever loved by their people, because they was for their people, and they made no apologies for it. You understand what I'm saying? Ellen and Richard, they loved their people, and they was for their people, man. But these silly Negroes, male and female, like Seth Williams of the world and that fool sister in St. Louis, they don't get it. They don't understand. That's why they will continually be at the footstool of white racism, because they so dumb. And I just thank you for your time, Brother Ellen, Brother Richard.
Joe, thank you for your call, man.
You're welcome.
Let's go. Let's take one more before we leave there tonight. Let's go to 646 area code. 646.
Yeah, this is Jay. Listen,
hey,
I
Jay.
don't know about that sister. The judge, and the funny thing is, I lived down the block from her at one time.
Okay.
Right down the block from her. I know an ex of mine, she knows her because she lived a couple of doors from her, so I know she knows her, but I haven't spoken to her lately. But when I do this week, I'll definitely ask about her. As far as her committing suicide, possibility, I don't know. As far as her mother and her brother, I think I read somewhere where her brother died of cancer.
Yeah, well, it came out that it was a false report about both of them family members committing suicide. And her husband also said that his wife didn't commit suicide.
Yeah, I mean, I had to laugh at myself when when I read some of the things about this clown Aaron Hernandez, and to find out that he killed that boy because he didn't want it to come out that he was bisexual. That right there, I had to take a nice chuckle at that, because he should have been happy about that. The way it looks now, that they trying to push homosexuality, transgender, and the rest of this nonsense to its fullest. Like I was telling a friend of mine, and a friend of mine told me that I was absolutely nuts when I said to her that pedophilia and bestiality within the next 20 years will be acceptable, because they're both acceptable over in other countries, and all they need to do is get this Negro to go along with it, because once this Negro goes along with it, then it's basically a wrap, because if you know it and you witnessed it with Puff the Magic Negro Obama, he was against transgender same-sex marriage when he first got into office, and it didn't take nothing more than maybe a year and a half to break that filthy clown down, to whereas, you know, he was a champion for it. You know, but as you can see, the Neanderthal, Trump and Sessions and the rest of them is trying to put that freaky nature to a halt, which I may have to give them a little bit of credit, but you know, it is what it is. But you know, what I was really calling for, Brother Elliot, is I don't know if you saw the article in Essence that came out about these 100 black women that are woke.
Well, you know what? I got the magazine. I put it in my place of business, but I haven't read it. I just kind of looked at the cover and kind of flipped through to see who these women were. You know, some of the women's pictures was on the front, but I didn't recognize some of the women. So I just kind of perused the magazine. But go ahead.
I know. I recognize most of them. But, you know, my question is that nobody seems to really answer in the black community is, what the hell are they woke about? Are they woke about being part of white culture, trying to integrate their children into white culture, trying to get acceptance from white people, a.k.a. being the mammy, marrying the Neanderthal, doing everything possible to make themselves more gracious to white people? Is that what they woke about? You know what I mean? Because if you notice, you know, most of them look like artificial white women with the way they wear their hair. They don't have African names, most of them. They don't wear anything cultural. You know what I mean? They don't speak anything really that's about being African, separated from this. Talking pro-black is not talking African. That's why I keep on asking you to get Brother Baruti on so that he can explain it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the thing is, why don't we just admit as a people that 90% of us don't want to have a damn thing to do with Africa, don't want to be African, want to love the white man more than anything in the damn world, and basically are going to do everything in their power to get closer and closer and beg this white man for something and to suck on his tit. You know what I mean? I mean, just think about it. How could you respect any black woman that doesn't even have any form of cultural wear? You know what I'm saying? I mean, how could you not at any point in time put your child in a dashiki or anything that has to represent him being an African that he could identify with? I mean, it's just absolutely madness.
Well, Jay,
some of y'all Negroes do.
Well, Jay, listen. Now, I didn't read the article, so I don't know what the women said that they were woke to. So I just seen them all wearing T-shirts saying "I'm woke" or "Stay awoke" or whatever. But
Let's think about that word. I'm woke.
but I just want to say this. The thing that happened to our people, and I'm talking about when we were born here in the state that we were, has never happened to any other people on the face of in human history. The thing that happened to our people were unique in human history, and we lived through it. So unless you've been taught this in your home, you have to acquire it after you leave your home. Sometimes people, young people are exposed to it when they're young. Sometimes they're grown before they start being exposed to things and having an awakening. Sometimes they go to, like Malcolm. Malcolm went to prison before he was woke. So sometimes it happens in different people's lives. Some people have the blessing to grow up in a household where things were taught or talked about all the time. So I don't want to come down on all our people because they're not conscious. Some of our people hear these things.
It's not a matter of coming down on them, Elliot.
No. I'm not saying that you're coming down on them. I'm just talking. Go ahead.
They don't define it, Elliot. You know, the thing is this, and I could use a counter argument to what you're saying. We could talk about that Jew. That Jew had something supposedly done to him just as bad as was done to us in some people's eyes. To me, I don't agree with
No,
it.
that doesn't even match up.
I think our Holocaust was 10 times worse.
Yeah, that doesn't even match up.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is that they have a systematic understanding of who they are culturally, and they try to preserve a form of their culture to do what? To never forget.
Well, now wait a minute. Now stop, Jay. Stop right there. But stop right there, Jay. See, that's the difference where I say that conversation, because I hear people talk. I heard so-called Jewish folks talk about that, and I don't even entertain that because that doesn't match up because of what you just stated. They still have a semblance of what they believe, and I put that part in it. Believe is their culture, even when that Holocaust was happening. And it didn't happen to just Jews. It happened to other people that was in Europe that didn't want to go along with what Hitler was putting down. But they didn't have their culture erased. Black folks had their culture erased for generations.
But Elliot,
so it was totally different.
We've had our culture erased. No, Elliot. We've had our culture erased, but we also had our culture presented back to us.
I agree with that.
That's where the issue is.
I agree with that.
That's where the issue is. Forms of our culture have been introduced to us to the point to whereas we should not be in this position. Every Jew don't accept the Holocaust and what it is and what it represents, but they do try to stick together in some sort of lockstep in regards to the moving forward of the culture.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even do that. And that's where I take issue with these churches, these fraternities, and all of these others. Because it's like I tell my old lady all the time, I'm not repping no damn Greek freak organization. So don't tell me nothing about no fraternity if it ain't got something to do with African culture. That's not going to happen this way because I know better. But I just think that we as a people have to figure out how we're going to be able to preserve the culture and give this information to whereas the culture isn't totally being wiped out. Because if you think about it, all of this damn work that Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark and the others that done is now being neglected, is now being cast aside as being some sort of nonsense. You know what I mean? Even by the so-called scholars like this Master Negro Skip Gates and the type of information that he puts forward. Even at the so-called Black Museum in Washington, you know what I mean? That doesn't even represent us as a people in the most honest way and honest persuasion. This is what I'm saying, and we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna preserve or move forward as a people. Because if we don't, we're gonna be nothing but a bunch of homogenized niggas who have no culture, have no representation, and who are always gonna be weak. And then over a certain period of time, they're gonna make our children think that we never had no damn history or no culture before we came within the midst of this filthy, stinking, no good, rotten white man who's the devil. That's what I'm trying to get us to understand and for us to realize. And for some reason, we're not doing it. Because every child should, at least, if they have one thing, they should have something to wear once a year, if that's what you choose, to give them some sort of cultural identity that they are African. And we're not even doing that. I mean, you got Negroes who will wear an X shirt when that movie was hot with Spike Lee, but that doesn't represent you culturally. A dashiki represents you culturally. So that's all I'm trying to say, Elliot. And I know you understand what I'm saying, but we got to do something.
I agree.
Because I'm not gonna have these black women, 100 so-called black women, try to incorporate me into this madness of whiteness and start pushing this nonsense about diversity and all of this so they can lay in bed with some beast. You know what I'm saying? That's not who we are as a people. You know what I mean? And I'm one of those people. I don't care who you sleep with. Just don't bring it around me. You know what I mean? But no, you're not going to tell me you've gained in this society because you could now be a legitimate Bedouin and a foot warmer.
Yeah, well, Jay, listen. Before I let you go, I'm gonna say this. It does bother me when I see black women or black men sleeping with these other folks. Listen here. Look at that. Look at Serena Williams. I know that her father. That his heart is he's torn apart. I know he's torn apart.
Richard is losing.
Come on, he's torn apart. I mean, this girl and went out with several black men that you entertainers. Sometimes they want to go out with people of equal status. I understand that. So she went out with several men. CC Tabathia. Listen, Johnny Sample here that used to that played for the Jets, that had a sports program that was from Philadelphia, was good friends with Richard. Would come on his program. Richard would come on his program all the time. So I heard Richard. I mean, I didn't know him personally, but I know that he's upset. I mean, you come on. That bothers me when I see that.
Hey, listen, Elliot. Richard is blacker than the blackest of the blackest of the blackest of black men. Let me tell you something.
I remember that clip. And not cut you, Jay. I remember that clip.
I'll tell you where I met Richard.
Go ahead.
I met Richard. Let me tell you. I'll tell you a quick story. I had Richard in my limo for an hour and a half, and it was the most enlightening hour in my life. Richard is as black as they come, and Richard don't like white people none whatsoever. The only thing Richard care about is the money, baby. And he was hurt when he got a little sick a couple of years ago, and Serena and Venus replaced him with the Neanderthal. Let me tell you something. Serena Williams, and I know I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I don't give a damn, but I'm going to say it anyway. I thought as a Jehovah's Witness, as a practicing Jehovah's Witness, she wasn't supposed to be giving nobody the snappy nappy until she was married. So, me, I was a little shocked to find out that she allowed that beast to get her pregnant. And, I put it to you like this. I see where she had the nerve to say that white men treat black women better than black men do.
No, I didn't. I know. Wait a minute. I didn't see the comment. She made some comments like that.
I can't imagine.
She made comments like that.
Yeah, she made comments like that. Yeah. Definitely. I've never seen a sister deal with a black man. I've always seen her deal with some European or nothing. And you know what the sad thing is? They were brought up around a true black man.
Yeah.
But I think what twisted him was that Mama Jehovah Witness nonsense. You know what I mean? So with the father, what he was trying to teach him, which he did a hell of a job. I think people don't even give Richard Williams the credit for the work that he did. I think basically what happened is they got caught up in the whole system of white supremacy with the advertising.
Oh, that's exactly what it was.
Those things, and it turned them. And Richard, being an older man, him not being with the mother, he couldn't keep the type of grip on him that they can. But no, you're not going to see. I wasn't even totally shocked or surprised by the simple fact that, she married the Neanderthal, but to think and to see that she went out there and had, this beast's child. But the crazy thing is this, and I was telling my old lady this the other day, she's never going to beat that white woman's record as far as holding the most Grand Slams in tennis, as far as holding the most championship, because she's not going to be able to come back from having that baby to win the two of the major fours to break that record. And I really believe that was something that Neanderthal was put up to, and something that Neanderthal went and done, because she should have known better. She should have broken the record before she went out there and had a baby with that beast to really set forward her legacy. You know what I mean? But, she's a Negro, and the Negro don't think, and the Negro don't realize that she's just basically being played. So as far as I'm concerned, the hell with it. The only good thing about it to me was she had a big fat ass.
Oh, man, come on, Jay.
Jay,
thank you for your call, man.
Okay, brother.
Listen, I want to, before we leave, I want to thank our guest tonight, President General of the Universal African Peoples Organization and the editor of African Newsworld, Brother Zaki Baruti, was with us this evening. You can check him out, go to the website, get any information, or to the African Newsworld. It kind of gives you an insight of what's going on in Missouri, St. Louis, Ferguson area in particular, and also ways that you can get involved with the Universal African Peoples Organization, their political end, or their political wing. Get involved in the Black Political Conference there that's being hosted in St. Louis in this May. If me or Richard don't be in attendance, we'll definitely give you a heads up on what's going on there, who's there, some of the input of some of the folks there, and we'll have Zaki Baruti back on at a later time to kind of give you the ins and outs. That's what Time for Awakening is used for, solutions. We can't keep complaining about some of our people getting involved with the Republican Democratic Party and on this having our people on this merry-go-round back and forth. We need to develop think tanks. We need to develop other solutions. You've heard of the solutions on this program, and men that are putting forth efforts to make these things happen, not just guys talking. Whether you've heard Brother Klingman and Brother Amafika talking about 1 million conscientious and conscious black voters, whether you heard Dr. Millier talking about the Black Coffee Political Party, Brother Omawale Yeshiteli talking about the Black is Back Coalition, or tonight Zaki Baruti with the Universal African Peoples Organization. It's solutions out here, brothers and sisters. It's up to us to get involved. Join some organization. Be part of the solution and not part of the problem. I want to thank everybody for listening to the program this evening. A lively discussion, as always, and we'll be back on Friday, Lord willing, to continue on this path towards an awakening. Peace.